Ready. Play.
As we've just highlighted Bergs and Djokovic, let's get into their upcoming encounter, which will be a quarterfinal clash, which will decide to see who makes the semi-finals and play the winner of Vacherot and Holger Rune, as previously mentioned. Has Bergs maybe been one of those players that has done well, taken advantage of the decimation of the draw as well to some extent? I mean, he's someone who struggled actually with quite a bit of form this year at times. I don't know if he had a sort of post. There was the Davis Cup controversy at the beginning of February, I think, wasn't there, when he went crazy after winning a point and then ran into Christian Garin. And again, you sort of, fans probably more than pundits, but we sort of draw lines in the sand, don't we? And go, oh, I don't think he's been quite the same since then. And it did seem to knock the wind out of him maybe more than it did Garin in so many ways. And also, I think he even said at some point, not referring to that moment, but he did say at some point during the summer that he was, he was not happy with how things were going. Let's say that, but he's recharged, if you like, and gone again, and he's on a good run here, and he's going to be playing Novak Djokovic in the quarterfinals.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when I think about Bergs, I struggle in terms of, what's his best surface, like what suits him the best. But, he's got that solid game off both wings, has the ability to be super aggressive with the forehand and get to the net. So I do credit kind of that style. Think about his run this week. It started against Sebi Korda, where I didn't have him coming through there. I thought, this is a good opportunity for Korda to get the wheels going again. He was down 4-1 in that second set, ends up winning at 7-5. So he gets through in straights and then sends Ruud to a third set, and it got a little bit physical for Ruud. So Ruud had to retire, and then there he is winning that first set against Cerundolo in a breaker and kind of making, just having Fran doubt himself kind of after that first set. And then again, I mean, Bergs and Diallo know each other well. They met in a final earlier this year. I think they play some doubles together as well, so that's always difficult going into a match. Mm-hmm. Drops the first set fairly routinely after an early break, and then finds a way to come back, save some match point. I think he saved one match point, and it was on Diallo's serve. So you do have to. He had two looks. I think it's 6-4 in the breaker, and then had to save one, and eventually got it done. But yeah, I mean, it's a good brand of tennis. I think he was able to pick on the Diallo backhand a bit more and just kind of go off of his consistency. And he's actually been pretty adamant about the conditions this week. He's almost embracing them in a sense. He said after beating Cerundolo that he felt great, he enjoyed the battle, and he enjoyed the suffering, and that he actually kind of accepted his situation. And he does play quite roller coaster matches, so that's a good kind of perspective for him. But I guess from a perspective here, it's gonna be about rally tolerance, right, with Djokovic, or we're gonna see what version we see of him in a day's time, as Djokovic does have a day to rest. We'll get to Djokovic in a sec whenever I'll let you talk about Bergs, but yeah, I mean, if you're Bergs, you have to be happy, content, and kind of excited at this matchup, and probably your best opportunity to take down Novak Djokovic.
I mean, he's been the underdog in every encounter so far, by varying margins. You never quite know with Korda, Ruud, and Cerundolo, but you'd imagine that those were 60-40, 70-30s in Bergs' opponent's favor. He maybe gets a little bit of a break in terms of Casper. Casper's actually had probably, for me, his worst year on tour in terms of injuries. I've always found Casper pretty solid, and whether it be 5 sets or 3 or whatever the format is and whatever the surface, even on grass, it's never a physical issue with him. And I do remember him losing in 5 sets to Liam Brody in 23, I think it was, when But you know what I mean? It's been a bit of just a few more. I mean, for the average player, it's probably fine the year he's had in terms of injuries. But by Casper's standards, he's had that a few times. So maybe Zizou got a bit of a break there. But for sure, as well against Fran and Sebi, I would have thought that both of those two opponents would have overcome Zizou one way or another. And Diallo as well. Diallo as well is having a good year, just creeping up the rankings. May well be seeded come the Australian Open. We'll see. That's going to be nip and tuck for the next few weeks and see how that turns out in terms of the Australian Open, which will be in January, of course. But yeah, I would have thought, and then obviously you mentioned the advantages that Diallo had at various points. Yeah, I would have expected him to come through that. And unfortunately, maybe from the spectator's point of view, I think Diallo would have probably posed Novak a few more problems than Zizou Bergs. Maybe I'm being hard on the Belgian, but I don't know what you think.
Yeah, I'd agree. I do kind of circle that backhand wing. I think I saw a stat. It was like 1 winner to 13 unforced errors for Diallo.
From Diallo, okay, right,
yeah. So when you do think about going against either player, it would be tough regardless. Yeah.
It's probably more just the fact that I just think that there's just not much that Bergs has.
That's exactly how I evaluate him, right? It's like it's a spinny forehand. It can do some damage. He's a fine server. It's just he possesses, just fairly solid. I would check the box as solid. And he does when he does play aggressive. I mean, it is dangerous. So yeah.
Novak has come through Cilic this week. It was straight sets, but could easily have gone 3. I think maybe Novak had a few issues when serving it out. I remember a few discussions with his box and a few other things that he was frustrated with at the time, but he did serve it out in the end in straights. Hanfman was a 3-setter, having lost the first set, and Munar was also a 3-setter. I mean, I think if there were really big opponents in weight for Novak, and I mean a fully fit and firing Ben Shelton, as well as obviously Alcaraz and Sinner, and maybe even Taylor Fritz over 3 sets. And obviously I know he's never won against Novak, so I might be getting carried away there. But for sure the other 3 players I highlighted, or maybe the Jack Draper of the first 5 months of the year, then I would think Novak is sort of waiting to be beaten, given what I'm seeing on the court. However, those players are not there, and that's not Novak's fault. But Zizou Bergs is in his way, and I think it might end up being the easiest win of the tournament so far for Novak.
Yeah, I mean, it's just all about his physical state, right? But I'll pose that in a more genuine way. The guy seems to be okay after falling down, after losing the second set. He's on the ground, huffing and puffing with the physio. So I mean, look, it's something that he's done throughout his career. I actually watched this match from the second set on, and I learned about he was having calf Achilles problems, and I didn't see him in the final 2 sets once reach for that kind of area. But I mean, from a tennis perspective, looking to shorten points at times, Munar is going to defend well, but really forehand inside out was firing. When he had his chance to kind of flatten it out or even hit that forehand up the line and join the net, very, very clinical there. Good volleys, and serving a little bit more, spot serving to his ability as always. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely an opportunity where a lot of these top players, like I mentioned, you got to be licking your chops at this draw and this opportunity. Novak only came out here for Shanghai, and obviously praises the city, the fans, the support. The support he gets is insane, right? Even today, every point they were going crazy. So I think he's going to use the crowd.
Chinese, doesn't he? And I think he's warmed to them and they've warmed to him. I think it's sort of a 50-50 thing, and it's helped both ways. And I think just the fact that he's the biggest name by some distance in the draw right now. So
right. So I think his game for sure has the ability to trouble Bergs. Let's see, what time he plays, how humid it is. I don't know if the conditions are going to let up at all in a day or two's time, but yeah, I mean, from a tennis perspective, it'll be tough to challenge him.
Yeah, indeed. I think even if, for example, even if it was a Lerner Teen or definitely a Daniel Medvedev in this particular encounter rather than Zizou Bergs, I would be throwing in some more interest. Daniel Medvedev for kind of obvious reasons, even if 2025 and maybe even 2024 have been rough for Daniel. We have seen so much shoots from him. And Lerner Teen is somebody who actually a little bit it's very rare that Lerner disappoints me in terms of the fact that, you know, he wins matches and he loses matches, and when he loses them, you know, he's done whatever he can to try and win it. It's not the same as, actually, funny enough, Daniel Medvedev. Sometimes I'm seeing him losing a tennis match, or Holger Rune for sure, and you're like, what are you doing? It's never quite like that with Lerner. But actually in the first set in particular, I would say more than anything else, and that's where the match ultimately, I think, was won and lost, against Novak at the US Open. He really did let himself down in terms of his level and what I think he can do, and what I think he can do to potentially trouble Novak. That'll obviously come much later. That will come in the final if Lerner can get there. And of course, if Lerner Teen is to get there, he's going to have to overcome the aforementioned Daniel Medvedev. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.